Welcome, folks, to Teach Rick Crypto. That's the working title until we get a better name. I'm Rick, the head of community here at Hemi. I'm joined by JCV and Josh. I'm going to let them introduce ourselves. And basically, the premise here is if they can teach me crypto, they can teach anyone crypto. So, for novices, for people just looking to up their skills in Web3, this show may be of interest. So, gentlemen, take it away.
All right, I'll go real fast. JCV, I am the VP of Engineering over at Hemi, do lots of stuff, and I've been in crypto a really long time, so I've sort of helped get a lot of people working in crypto who this may have been their first time touching it. And while Rick has been here a while and he's doing a great job running the community, anything we can do to level up anyone and everyone is a good thing. So that is why we're doing this. And starting out today is just sort of very basic concepts, just because it's always better to make sure everybody is talking the same language on the same page, knows all of the same things that's going on.
I'm Joshua. I'm a software engineer on Hemi's protocol engineering team, and I do a bit of everything.
He's also a community manager. He doesn't like to admit it, but he is.
Yeah,
but yeah,
don't let him know.
No, yeah, don't let's
Involuntary community manager.
yes. But no, this is great because my background is completely entertainment. I just kind of fell into the crypto space. I used to direct national commercials for toys, and I worked for Transformers and GI Joe for many years, and used to make horror movies. So this is like learning Latin for me. So I will let our resident black hole scientist try to teach me what the hell stuff means.
Yeah, and I'll say my background is not crypto either. I'm an astronomer by training. I've just been making this stuff up since like 2012. So that's the way crypto goes. We have people coming from all sorts of weird and random things, and hopefully we can somehow meet in the middle and do something useful, and hopefully not totally insane together.
That's always the goal.
Well, sometimes the goal is insane, but not today, I guess.
Well,
maybe.
I mean, in the Hemi Discord, yes, but this is a different animal in itself. So, all right. I digress.
All right, so let's get rolling. And this is Crypto 101. We really are just focusing on basic concepts here. This is not so much how to do anything, more of why things are the way they are and why we do any of this. So why are we doing this? Crypto sounds complicated. I think I don't think I'd get any disagreement on that one.
It sounds very complicated. Also, that's literally me when you guys are doing engineering talks during the Good Max.
I assume that, yes, that is a shot directly from your undisclosed whereabouts.
Yes, that's live. That's a live update.
Okay. And the other thing is there are a whole lot of ways that you can lose money, which is not what we want. And yeah, I know the Hamburglar doesn't steal money. He steals hamburgers. But what do you want?
I was literally just going to say that. I was like, wait, people are losing hamburgers in the crypto space?
It's dangerous out there, man. You got to be careful.
Yes. All right.
But no, the thing, what will keep people safe is a little bit of understanding and a lot of just being calm. And that's my usual safety PSA. Anytime someone rushes you, slow it down. Don't do it. Stop and think. Take a breath. I guess have a hamburger. Speed is the opposite of safety in this. Be calm, think, and that'll almost always keep you safe. And then in general, the more everyone understands crypto, the bigger and safer we can make this industry. And those are part of Hemi's goals. We want this to be useful. We want people to be able to do it, which means people have to be able to understand it. All right, quickly, the things we want to talk about: Bitcoin, money, Ethereum, and blockchains. Does that sound like vague and big enough? Because that is exactly what I'm aiming for today. This is big picture ones. Bitcoin. It is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. That is the title of the Satoshi paper. Does that mean anything to you? Because it really shouldn't, right?
It doesn't. It sounds like a way to transfer money.
And yes, that is actually very good because that is kind of what Bitcoin is. But first, we have to get to somewhere. What the hell is money?
Oh, shit. The $1 Million Man? Oh, you're speaking to me. Okay.
Language.
But seriously, what's money? Is money dollar bills?
Are we speaking literally or theoretically?
I'm a theorist, so they're the same.
Shit. Okay. Well, that's fair. All right. I think money could be anything that people assign value to. So now it's paper and coins. Yeah, money is definitely physical. I think money is always physical.
Okay, but then where does your money reside? Like when Hemi pays you, do you get a bag, with a dollar sign on it of money?
I wish. No, it goes to my bank and then directly to my bills and mortgage.
Right. So most of your money never touches the outside world. It lives in some, horrible pulsating spreadsheet in your bank.
Right.
So it's not physical. Most of the money you deal with every day is just numbers that go on somebody's spreadsheet.
But I have the option to take it out physically.
You do, but do you? I go to
Well,
the
no,
store.
I'm not gonna
Right?
keep it under my mattress. I mean, maybe I should, but
I mean, sometimes that seems like it might have been a better choice, but you probably don't. So while money can be physical, it's not always.
that's fair.
And, most of the time, for most of us, it usually isn't. I get paid, it goes straight to a bank account, then I, click some buttons and it goes straight to my mortgage. Or I, take a credit card or a debit card and I go and buy food or beer or something.
Yeah. For the most part these days, you're digitally transferring money.
Yes.
Aha! I see where you're going with this.
Right? So where does that money come from? Who decides what it does? There's governments. In theory, the government is the one who prints in quotes because most of it's not printed money. Your bank has a lot to say about it. Your credit card companies and payment processors, which are frequently the same, but they don't have to be, they have a hell of a lot to say about it because I don't know about you, but most of the money I spend is I tell a credit card, hey, go buy. Literally, the last thing I bought some cheese online. We can talk about that another time, but
There's a lot to unpack right there.
Yeah, I know. But that is like honestly the most recent purchase I've made. It's very good
Okay.
cheese, but anyway, it's I pay the credit card. So I'm not even handling real money like with the mortgage case where it goes to my bank. I'm telling a credit card, here, give this other place money for me.
Right.
So pretty much the point of all this is that even money, the way we use it normally, is an abstraction from something.
Yeah, it's become more cashless.
Right.
Like cash exists, but we rarely like hold it or have it in our hands or under our mattress or in bags with dollar signs.
Yeah. So
Okay.
And that's important because one of the big things that people have trouble with the jump to Bitcoin is, well, how does that work if there's no actual money? But
Right.
even
If
in
they're like,
real,
why does this have a value and who's setting the value?
but even in real money, real in quotes or legacy money or whatever you want to call it, fiat currency.
Fiat currency.
I like legacy, but that's me. But still, most of that lives very similarly to Bitcoin, just as lines of code somewhere, in that big pulsating brain from a couple slides ago. Even though it feels like it's a big jump, it's not.
No, it's really not when you break it down like this.
Okay, so, we kind of get how the money thing's not that far from Bitcoin. And electronic, I mean, whatever. This was, what was it, 2008 when Satoshi wrote this. Maybe if he did it a couple of years later, he would have picked a different word for that.
Like digital.
Yeah. If he had done it 5 or 10 years before that, it would have had the word web in there or something. But that part doesn't really matter. It's just, we know it's out there somewhere. But what about the P2P? What does peer-to-peer mean?
Like person to person?
Well, yes, or computer to computer.
Oh, okay.
So like when I use the credit card, I'm asking Visa or MasterCard or American Express, pretty please give money to this other business. I'm a good customer. They usually say yes, but they don't have to.
But they want your money.
But they can decide there's a class of things that they don't want my money for.
Like cheese?
Like cheese. If they disapprove of cheese, then I don't get that, what is it? It's like black pepper and chive cheese that I ordered. That's it. Again, we're doing real world examples here.
No, this is good. So like if you were gonna buy like a Komodo dragon off like the dark web, Visa could be like, I don't know if we really want you purchasing Komodo dragons off the dark web.
You seem like someone who could be trusted with a Komodo dragon.
Right.
I don't know, would it eat my cat?
Yeah, I think it would eat everything in sight. It's a Komodo dragon. Right. Also, their mouths are filthy.
I've never looked in one, but I believe that. But yeah, I mean, Visa can say that. So peer-to-peer means instead of having these centralized payment processors or banks to do it, to decide what is and isn't okay, the network decides together.
Okay.
So my computer just sends to yours, I'm going to send this amount. And yours has various rules to say yes or no. And eventually the entire network agrees that, yeah, this happened. How do they agree?
Like how does it agree?
That's where, one of the most interesting things that Satoshi put together, because Bitcoin, the white paper, as important as it is, he was using all well-known things and just put them together in a novel way. It's not actually, all sorts of crazy things that nobody understood. So one of the important things is proof of work. And that's where the whole Bitcoin mining thing comes in. The details don't really matter, but the big picture is that proof of work means you get computers to use electricity to do something that's hard for them. Doesn't matter what it is exactly, it just has to be hard for computers, so they now have to spend electricity to do it, and then they get a reward for doing that. And they just use this so that if everybody plays this game, you benefit more by playing the game by the rules than by trying to circumvent the rules. So like if I could want to break Bitcoin, the system is supposed to work so that I'd actually make more money by not breaking Bitcoin, but instead by participating in Bitcoin.
Can we use a practical example? Potentially the Komodo dragon for this?
The Komodo dragon?
Or it doesn't have to be the Komodo dragon. We can go back to cheese if that's easier.
Oh, I'm trying to think of a good example for proof of work, because that is...
Because like what you're saying makes sense, but I can't like
I know, visualizing for it. And here's the problem. Everyone talked about Bitcoin as mining. Like that's the terminology. But the terminology doesn't actually clear things up for most people. If anything,
no, that doesn't at all. Because when I think of mining, I think of like the guy with the hat and the light on the hat with a
pickaxe and
yeah,
it's like covered in soot. Yeah.
So what I'm guessing is like your computer's running, but what's it doing? Like, how is it getting these theoretical bitcoins?
So what your computer does is, if you're a miner, you take a bunch of transactions, which we're going to get to on the next slide, actually.
Okay.
You take a bunch of transactions, you put them in order, you do some things to make sure they're okay, and then you guess at a number. And then you do a hash, which is just a big math operation that you need to do. And that's the important thing. You pick a random number, and then you do math on your transactions in the random number to get a new number out. And
so if I just say 23, that's my number. What the hell do I do? What do I do with 23?
Your computer takes that number, and then it takes all of the transactions. So all of the people who said, I want to send this money or that money, takes them all together, and then it does what's called a hash of those. So it just does this big long math operation on them that turns your number 23 and all of those transactions and some other little bits and pieces into a new smaller number that's the hash of a block. Pretty much. That's not exactly right, but it's close enough. And then it says, okay, does this look like, because there's some rule about what the next block needs to look like. So it needs to have a hash that's below a certain amount. So it says, hey, does this number match the rule for the next block? And if it does, you say, cool, I got the next block. You send it out to everyone and you get a reward. If it doesn't, you go and pick another random number and you do it again.
And I'm literally just picking random numbers when I'm doing this.
Yes. Your computer's doing it. You can do it by hand. Someone did do a Bitcoin block by hand a long, long time ago.
Oh, so the computer is picking random numbers, not me personally.
Right. Your computer picks a random number, and then it does the hash, and then it says, hey, is this block good enough to be the next one? And it sends it out to the network. And if it is, you get the reward. If not, someone else gets it.
Okay, because I was literally picturing like all the people in testnet who are pot mining sitting there being like, 6? And then just running this thing.
Miners don't literally do anything themselves. Their computers do it. They just start the command and it does it. But by doing mining, you're proving that your computer put some amount of work into it. So at this point, you've already spent the money to do the work. You might as well continue to play the game because you eventually should make more money than you would if you try to go against the game, if you try to cheat.
Okay.
So it's a way to try to keep people honest and to let a whole bunch of disparate nodes that live scattered all across the world eventually agree on this is the state of things. This is who sent money to who. This is what everyone's balance looks like. And now we all agree, even though we never got together and, let someone tell us what things were.
Right. So all the computers doing all the math come to some kind of like
consensus.
Agreement doesn't even a consensus.
That's the word.
That's how it processes and keeps the blockchain moving.
This is sort of why blockchain is money. Most bit transactions on Bitcoin is I'm going to send X amount of money to person Y or really to address Y. And they get batched up into blocks. That's the the POW part, and each block has a reference to the block that came before it. And that's how it's a chain. So
Okay.
you can't go and replace an older block without replacing every block that comes after it.
So the blockchain is forever for the most part,
Yes.
because to get rid of, let's say through proof of work, my computer guesses the right number, right?
Yeah.
It goes into a new block. I can't delete or I can't get rid of the records of transactions that happened on the previous block, because to do so, I would need to get rid of the very first block, which is essentially impossible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. That's awesome.
So it's a chain, and so you can get rid of, there have been reorgs where people can get rid of maybe the top 2 blocks, but as you go further down, it gets, to the point where it's basically impossible.
Okay.
And
Okay.
That
makes sense.
That's sort of what blockchain is. So now let's get even more weird and confusing. Ethereum. And people have Ethereum, if Bitcoin was this peer-to-peer money, Ethereum is programmable money.
Okay,
And
now what the hell does that mean?
Yes. Okay, programmable money is smart contracts. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, what the hell does a contract mean?
A contract? A contract is a binding thing between some parties that is basically like, I agree to do this and you will do this, and then it's like legally binding.
Okay, but then how is it binding? What happens what makes a contract binding?
The law. Because if you don't uphold the law, there's RoboCop.
Right? A contract is it's an agreement enforced by the law.
Okay.
More or less, right? And the law is
yeah.
It's probably not directly enforced by RoboCop, but
that would be so much better if it was, though.
Seriously. But that is still a centralized thing, a centralized entity. And so smart contracts are enforced by code.
Is that Clamps from Futurama?
Yes, it is.
This is the best slideshow ever.
It occurs to me that enforced by codes, that RoboCop in my previous picture slightly hurts my argument on this slide for being enforced by code, but whatever. RoboCop's too awesome to leave out.
That's true. Okay. So wait. So smart contracts are enforced by code, whereas standard contracts are enforced by the law. So there's nothing legally stopping a smart contract from being violated, but the code itself is RoboCop in this scenario.
So right. So basically, let's say I send a smart contract to Ethereum, and it says if you send me some number of Hemi, it will then send you those to Ethereum, right? If I were to do something that breaks that, the transactions won't be valid. So you literally can't break them, because it's enforced by the code to be a valid transaction to then fit in the blockchain. Assuming no bugs, you can't break them because it's enforced by the code, and for everything to be valid and to fit into the blockchain, you need to do it. Right.
Okay.
So
there's a lot to unpack. I think I follow that.
Another way, a smart contract, it's supposed to do something. And maybe it's, something like if one person sends in these tokens, send these other tokens to another person. But smart contracts, when they're written right, they have to run all of it and to completion, and they basically have to do what they're programmed to do. They don't have a choice.
Okay.
So it's basically you're enforcing at the time that something happens, rather than, waiting until after the fact to have the law step in.
Okay, so, all right, that makes sense. So basically, instead of having RoboCop show up, you've already made it so ironclad that the code itself won't break it, and RoboCop does not have to show up.
Right.
Putting it in the stupidest terms I could think of.
No, that's kind of
another way of putting it. You mentioned Komodo dragons earlier. You could say you have a Komodo dragon that is promised that if you give it $1, it will give you a lemon, and it's always going to do that, and it can never break the law of it having to give you a lemon if you give it $1. Maybe.
So RoboCop never comes after the dragon.
RoboCop never fight the Komodo dragon, because as long as I give it $1, it will give me a lemon.
Yeah.
But if I don't give it $1, I don't get a lemon. What if I give it something else? This is a serious question. It won't give me anything.
Do you want a pissed off Komodo dragon?
No. Okay. See, this is making sense now.
Okay, then that is actually, for basic concepts, that's what we have. So I want to hear from you. What did we learn? Summarize a little of it. Tell me and Rick, me and Joshua, something about some of the points.
So
And if you want me to go back to a slide, tell me.
No, hold on. Let me try to just do this off the top of my head here. All right, because this actually was very helpful. I assume in other episodes we're going to get more granular because
I have the next slide says what we're going to talk about next time.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay, so money historically is a physical thing, but because the state of the world as it is, and being more in the digital age and a cashless society without necessarily being cashless because it exists, we're not handling it. So everything's really done digitally. Bitcoin functions the same way, but with Bitcoin, we're not relying on external approvals to say, I can buy a Komodo dragon or I can't, like you could with a credit card. Because they could say, no, Rick, you can't have a Komodo dragon. No, JCV, you can't have your fancy fucking pepper cheese. Because with Bitcoin, you can just do that. You can just do it as long as there's a consensus throughout the network. Am I accurate so far?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Proof of work, your computer makes random numbers to try to get rewarded to create the next block and perpetuate the blockchain going. You can't delete the previous block because in the chain, you have to somehow get rid of the very first block, which is impossible.
Yeah, well, you have to go back. You don't have to go all the way to the beginning. You have to go to wherever you want to, where at whatever the breaking point that you want to change history is. But
right, but you can't do that, right?
Right, correct.
Right. So okay. So yeah. So in weird terms, you can't go back in time and stop John Wilkes Booth from shooting Lincoln. Like even with the time machine, you can't do it. Something is preventing it from happening because I'm going way off the rails with this. But am I on so far?
You actually are.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to think. That was proof of work. Oh no. So yeah. So then if your computer guesses the right number and it creates another block in the blockchain, you get rewarded somehow. That's the part that I'm still a little fuzzy on. So what is the reward for creating a new block in the blockchain? Is that you get X amount of Bitcoin?
Yes.
Because
in Bitcoin, that's where new Bitcoin come from.
Oh shit, that makes so much sense now. So that's why Bitcoin can continue to expand because there's no for instance, with Hemi or another project, right? There's X amount of tokens and then X amount of tokens that are released, but Bitcoin, it's perpetual and in forward motion because people keep creating new blocks.
Yes, although Bitcoin, it's not exactly perpetual because Bitcoin has a limited supply. It just gets there very slowly.
Okay, because you're not, when you create a new block, you're not getting one new Bitcoin. You're getting a fraction of it, right?
Early on, it was, I forget the exact numbers. You used to get actually a bunch of Bitcoin, and then every 2 years, it cuts in half. So the reward goes down every once in a while.
Okay. So here's the part I'm really fuzzy on. Okay. Ethereum. I'm still fuzzy on Ethereum. What the hell does programmable money mean? I just can't wrap my head around it. If you can spend it, what are you programming it to do? I don't know. Sorry if this sounds super stupid. I can't wrap my head around it.
This is all part of where the whole industry has not made things clear from the beginning. So pretty much what you can do, most of what people have done, people have done all sorts of things with it. They've done, NFTs are a symptom of money being programmable because people were able to write something that exists on the Ethereum chain where they can pass along. So money is supposed to be fungible. Like every dollar is the same as every other dollar.
Right.
And you can argue that Bitcoin is or is not like that. It's almost like that, but not really. But Ethereum has the same problem. But there are NFTs which are they wrote some code, a smart contract to make an object on the Ethereum chain that is not fungible. That is like an individual thing of its own. And people use those NFTs for trading artwork or trading
oh my god,
things like that.
That just made so much sense to me. So Ethereum, when you talk about it being programmable, you're not talking about an Ethereum token, you're talking about the network.
Yes, and you can build things that you feed the token into to make those things run.
And then you can assign value to it because it's backed by the token on the network.
There's lots of reasons you can assign value to it, but yes, that's one of them.
Oh my god. Okay. So that was never clear to me because when people talk about programmable money. I'll be perfectly honest, I was very like ignorant to the subject, but I always assumed it meant like the Ethereum token was somehow programmable. And I just couldn't wrap my head like how the hell
because
is
it's not exactly. Yeah, no, I mean that
because it's the network.
The part of the problem is money is a pretty damn old concept. So we're using terminology that predates most things we could think of for something pretty new. So a lot of times the metaphors kind of start to strain a little at the edges.
Right. So, but with this, it's basically like, let's get back to the Komodo dragon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a Komodo dragon. You give it $1 for it to give you a lemon, right? But with Ethereum on the Ethereum network, which is programmable quote unquote money, you could give the Komodo dragon a picture of $1, and this Komodo dragon and maybe others could decide how many lemons that picture of $1 is worth.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Am I way off base?
No, I think you actually got a lot of it.
Okay, but no, all right, that makes sense. So when Hemi talks about programmable Bitcoin, it's not the Bitcoin token. It's making the network programmable like Ethereum, right?
Well, sort of. So the Bitcoin network is very minimally programmable. Like it's got the script language that is really hard to use and intentionally limited. What Hemi's talking about is taking Bitcoin, the coin or the token or whatever word we want to use for it, and bringing that onto a network that's programmable.
Oh, okay. So it's taking Bitcoin onto Ethereum or Hemi, where then it becomes programmable because of the functionality of the network.
Yes.
Oh shit! This makes so much sense now.
Yeah. Queue up next time. I think what I want to discuss are wallets, signing, and block explorers, because I think those are the next 3 pieces you need to really have a handle on before you can start doing, all the crazy DeFi stuff.
Right. Oh yeah, because we have to get into DeFi and also Pop, because now that I have like basically a 5-year-old's knowledge, I think it'll help with Pop.
Yeah, Pop needs to go in there too. And if there's anything else you guys think of that should go in there, but anyway, those are the slides I had. That's
fantastic. Crypto 101, baby. Is there a quiz? Wait, we already did the quiz. How did I do?
You explained back pretty much most of what we went through. I mean, Joshua, did he pass to your standards?
I think so.
Shit, I passed Crypto 101. All right.
Yep.
Well, I'm ready. I can't wait for 102. I'm going to rock the house. It's going to be incredible.